ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम। We are studying the Brahma Sutras and we have progressed. We have completed the first 3 sutras and the indication is the number of participants at this stage. So we have really progressed. Now we have come to 15 people are attending now. So that means we have really covered ground. And we have gone through the first 3 sutras. As I have told you many times earlier, the first 4 sutras are traditionally considered to be very important because they are also considered by many to be representative of the 4 chapters of Brahma Sutras. So by that kind of perspective, we have already completed 3 sutras and the 4th sutra we have to now study. The 4th sutra and Shankaracharya's commentary on it is quite big. And because here Shankaracharya brings in other philosophical schools, other philosophical standpoints, and he tries to engage in a debate with those philosophical standpoints or schools. The first sutra, as we all know, is Athato Brahma Jignasa. Second sutra is telling the origin of this entire universe. And the third sutra is telling that Brahman has its origin in the scriptures because it is only the scriptures or the Vedas which talk about Brahman. Second sutra, Janmadi Asya Yatah, Janmadyasya Yatah. Third sutra, Shastra Yonitvad. So then there is this question, why are you repeating the same kind of logic which you have talked of in the second sutra? Why is it repeated in the third sutra? Because Shastra Yonitvad has 2 meanings. The first meaning is that Brahman is the source of the Vedas. The second meaning is that the Vedas are the source of the knowledge of Brahman, or they are the only means of knowledge of Brahman. All that has been seen, and we have also seen the commentary of Shankaracharya on that. Now and also these 3 sutras, they form, each sutra forms one adhikarana, one subsection of Brahma Sutra. The first chapter's subsection. So we have already seen 3 subsections. So the first chapter's first section is Jigyasa Adhikarana. It's called Jigyasa Adhikarana after the sutra Athato Brahma Jigyasa. The second section is called this Jagat, from which all these has come. Janmadyasya Adhikarana. Janmadyasya Yatah. That is the sutra. So it's called Janmadyasya Adhikarana. And the third Adhikarana is called Shastra Yonitva Adhikarana. So now we are going to see the Adhikarana, which is nothing but the 4th sutra, which is Tattu Samanvayat. And this Adhikarana is called Samanvaya Adhikarana. Let us go to the sutra. But before we go to the sutra, as is the tradition, there will be an introductory commentary or explanation which will act as an introduction to the sutra. Now here, the explanation starts with an objection by the Purva Paksha, that is the opponent. Here the opponent is Mimamsaka. Who are the Mimamsakas? We know Jaimini wrote the Mimamsa Sutras. The first sutra is Athato Dharma Jigyasa. So this Mimamsa Sutra, also called as Purva Mimamsa Sutra, talk about different rituals and how they have to be done. Rituals prescribed in the Vedas. And the great contribution of Mimamsa philosophers is the technique they have developed to ascertain the meaning of a Vedic statement. We can call it, because of lack of a better word in English, Mimamsa means analysis. And the Western equivalent is called hermeneutics. So a study of how to understand, study of meaning of the scriptures. So here Mimamsa means analysis of the Vedas, analysis of what is being said in the Vedas. So one could use the English word hermeneutics for this. So when we use the English word hermeneutics, it brings in too many Western connotations or Western contexts. So we have to be careful about that. Now the objection is very clear. The objection is Katham punaha brahmanaha shastra pramanakatvam uchyate yavata amnayasya kriyarthatvat anarthakyam atadarthanam. Purva Mimamsa Sutra 1.2.2 or 2.1 iti kriya paratvam shastrasya pradarshitam. So the question is, Katham, how, punaha, again, Brahmanaha, or for Brahman, Shastra Pramanakatvam Uchyate. That is the scripture being the Pramana, means of knowledge. Uchyate is stated because Yavata, because Amnayasya Kriyarthatvat Anarthakyam Atadarthanam. Iti kriya paratvam shastrasya pradarshita. Now here the problem is this. In the Purva Mimamsa Sutras or Mimamsa Sutras, this sutra has been quoted. What is the meaning of this sutra? Amnayasya, of the Vedas. Amnaya means Veda. Of the Vedas, kriya arthatvat. Because the purpose or the artha of the Vedas is kriya. Kriya means rituals, Vedic rituals. So this Mimamsa Sutra says, because the purpose of Vedas is rituals, because the purpose of the Vedas is rituals or performing the rituals, anarthakyam atadarthanam. Atadarthana. Tad means rituals. Artha means purpose. Atadarthana means atadarthanam vakyanam. We have to introduce that. Vakyanam means all those sentences which do not talk of this purpose. So, amnayasya kriya arthatvat. So, all the Vedic statements, their purpose or the Vedas, the purpose of the Vedas is kriya. Kriya means Veda kriya. That means Vedic rituals or Vedic sacrifices, yajna. So, atadarthanam, all sentences or passages which do not talk about that purpose are anarthakyam. They are purposeless. They are meaningless. They are useless. That is the sutra. According to Purva Mimamsa, unless a particular Vedic statement tells you to do something, it is useless. Mere philosophy, oh, you are Atman, I'm Brahman, all this is not necessary. What should I do now? They are more action oriented. So if there is nothing which will lead to an action, it is useless. That is the sutra. So that is why, based on this understanding of the Vedas, the question is asked, Katham punaha, how again, Brahmanah Shastra Pramanakatvam Uchyate. How is it stated? So last sutra was Shastra Yonitvat. That has got two meanings. One is the source of the Vedas is Brahman, and the means of knowledge of Brahman is the Vedas. So the question is, how can you say that the means of knowledge of Brahman is Shastra or the Vedas? Because this sutra is there which says that if a particular Vedic statement does not talk about Vedic sacrifice, then it is purposeless. That being the case, how can we have some statements which are talking about Brahman? How can you say that Vedic statements are means of knowledge for Brahman? There is a conflict here. Iti kriya paratvam shastrasya pradarshitam. Kriya paratvam means the purpose being sacrificial acts or Vedic rituals. Shastrasya pradarshitam. It has been shown, it has been clearly shown, pradarshitam, that shastrasya kriya paratvam, that all the Vedas, their purpose is to perform sacrifices. That is, the purpose is to perform yajna or Vedic actions, Vedic rituals. If that is the case, how can you say that Vedas are the means of knowledge for Brahman? How can you say? And atah, therefore, Vedantanam anarthakyam. Just now we quoted from the Mimamsa Sutras, and we have shown that the Mimamsa Sutra says, because the purpose of all the Vedas are doing Vedic rituals, if there is some statement or statements which are not telling that purpose, which are not serving that purpose, or which are not stating that purpose, then those Vedic statements are useless, purposeless. Atah, therefore, Vedantanam anarthakyam. All Vedanta means Upanishads. So basically, Upanishads don't talk about do a particular Vedic ritual. They don't talk about any Vedic ritual. So therefore, they are anarthakya. They are useless. Why? Akriyarthatvat. Because they do not have as their purpose any Vedic ritual or any yajna sacrifice, Vedic sacrifice. Sometimes I am wary of using this word sacrifice. Yajna is a better word, because whenever you use the word Vedic sacrifice, people suddenly imagine something is being cut like that. Sacrifice. So that is why it's not yajna or Vedic ritual. Vedic ritual. So Vedic ritual is the purpose of the Vedas, and so Vedantanam anarthakyam. All Vedanta, that is Upanishads, are useless, purposeless, because akriyarthatvat, because they do not have as their purpose any action. Kartru devatadi prakashana arthatvena va kriya vidhi sheshatvam upasanadi kriyantara vidhanarthatvam va. Also, Kartru devatadi prakashanarthatvena va kriya vidhi sheshatvam upasanadi kriyantara vidhanarthatvam va. Now, Upanishads are purposeless because they don't talk about any sacrifice, any Vedic yajna or Vedic ritual. But we can give some kind of relaxation here. That is the idea by Mimamsa philosophers. They are saying, okay, Upanishads may not directly talk about the purpose of Vedic yajnas or Vedic rituals, but they might talk about Kartru Devatadi Prakashana Arthatvena. Because of their purpose being, or Artha being, Artha means purpose, aim, being Kartru Devatadi Prakashana, describing, Prakashana describing Kartru Devatadi for a particular Vedic ritual or a Vedic yajna. There should be the person who is doing Karta, Kartru, who is doing the Vedic yajna, who can do that Vedic yajna, and also who is the deity of that Vedic yajna, Adi, and such other things are necessary. So, Upanishads, they can either talk about directly Vedic sacrifice, but they don't do that. But they can have the purpose of telling who can be the agent or Kartru, who can be the Karta of a particular Vedic sacrifice. Means who can do that Vedic sacrifice, or who is the deity of a particular Vedic sacrifice, and such other ancillary things connected to a particular Vedic sacrifice they may talk about, and so they may become purposeful because they are explaining the details of a Vedic sacrifice. The idea is very clear. Unless a particular statement of the Veda is connected directly with a Vedic yajna or a Vedic ritual, Vedic sacrifice, then and only then we can take it as purposeful. If it is not connected, then we cannot take it as purposeful and it becomes purposeless. So there is a very famous statement, Vedoshara Vedanta. That means Ushara means desert. So in Vedas, Vedanta or Upanishads are like deserts. They are like barren land. Why? Because they are of no use. Because they don't talk about any Vedic ritual. They don't talk about any Vedic yajna. So if at all they have to be of purpose, they should talk, if at all in some Vedas, in Upanishads, some Upanishads, if they are talking about who can be the Karta or the agent of a particular yajna, who is the deity of a particular yajna, and some such other things related to a particular yajna, so that Upanishad or that part of Vedanta can become subsidiary or ancillary to a particular yajna, and so then it becomes purposeful. Or Va means or. Kriya Vidhi Sheshatvam. It is Shesha or subsidiary to Kriya Vidhi. Vidhi means injunction or instruction, direction. Agnihotram Juhuyat Swarga Kamaha. Those who are desirous of attaining heaven should perform Agnihotra. That is an injunction. That's a direction. So, Kriya Vidhi Sheshatvam. So, some Vedantic texts might be talking about being subsidiary to injunctions of Vedic rituals. Kriya, Vedic ritual or Vedic yajna. Seshatvam, subsidiary. So, Kriya Vidhi Seshatvam, subsidiary to the injunctions, Vidhi or commands, orders of doing Vedic rituals in the Vedas. Some Upanishadic statements or some Vedantic statements might be subsidiary. So then we can accept it as purposeful, otherwise we cannot. Or it can also talk about Upasanadi Kriya Antara Vidhanarthatva. Okay, there is another relaxation we can give, say the Mimamsa philosophers. They say, okay, not necessarily to talk directly about Vedic yajnas or Vedic rituals. They can talk about Kriya Antara, a different kind of Vedic rituals. That is like Upasanadi. Like Upasana. Upasana means contemplation or prayer, meditation, etc. So in the Chandogya Upanishad, also in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we see many kinds of upasana being talked of there. Many kinds of meditation or contemplation or even prayer being talked of there. So upasanadi, prayer, etc., or prayer and so on, or the like, kriya antara vidhana arthatvam. So they can have their artha or purpose as vidhana, that is again injunction or instruction of kriya antara, a different kind of Vedic ritual in the form of upasanadi, in the form of meditation, contemplation, prayer, and so on. So the idea is, if the Vedantic texts are not directly talking about, if the Vedantic texts are not directly talking about Vedic rituals, then they are useless. Maximum we can give concession is if they are talking about something connected to the Vedic ritual, or they are something connected to the Vedic ritual, like who is the deity of a particular ritual, or who can do a particular, perform a particular ritual, and similar such things, or it is talking about a different kind of Vedic action, that is like contemplation, meditation, etc. Simply saying Tattvamasi, you are that, I am that, Aham Brahmasmi, all this will not do. We don't like this. We are all active people. We want action, say the Mimamsa philosophers. Now, then what is the explanation of this particular objection? That is Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya. He is now giving the explanation. He is saying, Nahi. Na means not, he means indeed. Here, he means indeed. So, indeed, Parinishtita Vastu Pratipadanam Sambhavati. Nahi Sambhavati. That means, indeed, it is not possible. Sambhavati. So, we have to add na there. Na. So, there cannot be any possibility of Parinishtita Vastu Pratipadanam. Parinishtita means a thing which is already there, which is established. Something which is Parinishtita means established. Vastu means an entity. So that which is already established, an already existing entity. Parinishtita Vastu. Pratipadanam nahi sambhavati. Of that particular thing, it is not possible to teach about that thing. What is the meaning here? The meaning is that something which is already there and already accepted by everybody need not be taught separately because it is already there. This kind of objection was already given earlier also. It is already there. It can be an object of our sense perception. For example, if you are looking at a table and on the table an apple is kept. So you are seeing the apple. Now nobody needs to teach you, okay, when you are in smaller, when you are young and you don't know what is an apple, then people can identify, introduce you to that fruit. They can say, oh, this is apple. But you know what is an apple and it is just in front of you. Imagine somebody coming and telling you, see, this is apple. It is in front of you. It is like stating the obvious because it is already in front of you on a table and you can see it. You can use your eyes, you can use your brain, you can use all these things and find out through direct perception what is in front of you. So Parinishtita Vastu, that is already existing entity, Pratipadanam nahi sambhavati. Teaching of that entity is not possible because it is obvious, and it can be understood based on the direct perception by directly seeing it or using all the 5 sense organs. You can perceive it. So there is no point in telling the obvious, stating the obvious. Like somebody will come and say, oh, you see, This is sun. Say this is moon. This is a tree. Did you see? This is a tree. Some people do like that, particularly when people go to what is called scenic beauty surroundings. See, I used to see this so often because I was in the place called Mayavati. For 6 years, I had the opportunity, good fortune to be in that ashrama in the middle of the jungle. And so people used to come and they used to say, oh, see tree, how beautiful tree. They'll say, oh, see, snow-peaked mountains. So that's like that. If you have seen that, you will get the idea. See, look. What is that? That's a bird. Bird, everybody can understand. See leopard, because people have not seen leopard in the open. No, they are seeing only in the zoo. So leopard is in the open. So they are like, oh, leopard, stating the obvious out of surprise or out of overwhelming emotion. So that kind of thing. But for ordinary people, generally, we don't need to state the obvious. You show a book and say, hey, see book. So it borders on sarcasm or making fun of other person. You cannot do that. It is not taken very politely. So that is the point. Parinishtita vastu pratipadanam nahi sambhavati. Why? Pratyakshadi vishayatvat parinishtita vastunah tat pratipadanecha heya upadeya rahite purusha artha abhavat. So na sambhavati. It is not possible to teach pratipadanam, to teach or explain a thing which is already existing, already established. Why? Pratyakshadi vishayatvat. Because it is the object, Vishaya, object of Pratyaksha Adi, of the means of knowledge like Pratyaksha, etc. So we have seen Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, all that. All these things are the 6 means of knowledge. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Anupalabdhi, then Shabda, etc. So all these 6 means of knowledge are there. So these 6 means of knowledge, they are to be relied on or have to be used to come to a conclusion about what is already existing. Come to a conclusion about what is already existing. Pratyakshadi vishayatvat. Because of the parinishtita vastu, already existing entity, being the Vishaya or the object of the 6 means of knowledge. 6 means of knowledge. Parinishtita vastunah tat pratipadanecha heya upadeya rahite purusha artha abhavat. Also abhavat, because there is no purusha artha. There is no human goal, human aim. Means there is nothing to do for a person. In the case of parinishtita vastunah, of an entity which is already existing. Cha also, and tat pratipadane, and also in its teaching. So that means about an already existing entity and the teaching of that entity, purusha artha abhavat. There is no human aim. Purusha means human aim, because heya upadeya rahite. Because there is rahite, absence of heya. Heya means that which has to be rejected. Upadeya, that which has to be accepted. So there is no thing which has to be, nothing which has to be rejected, nothing which has to be accepted. And so we have a problem that there is no purusha artha. There is nothing, no goal to be accomplished here. That is the idea. There is no goal to be accomplished here. No goal to be accomplished means you don't have to do anything. So you don't have to do anything. And because you don't have to do anything, then we don't want to take it as something which has to be taught also. Because there is nothing new to do. You have something in front of you. You cannot do anything about it. It's in front of you. apple is, suppose the table had nothing and somebody says, bring an apple, then it's a different thing altogether. Then you have to go and bring an apple. So you have some action to do. Now apple is in front of you and the statement is, hey, see, there is apple in front of you. It is also not eat this apple. The statement is, we have to understand the statement. The statement is, see, look, there is apple. Just that's why I gave you the example. Look, mountain is there. Look, high sky, how nice sky. That's what people do when they go to here nearby Wayanad district is that there also they will go, such blue sky, see. Then they go to ocean, see wave, like that. So there is nothing you can do. You can only see that look at the wave, look at the ocean, and also look at the person who is telling you all these obvious things. So only that you can do. You cannot do anything. So there is no purushartha. There is no doable thing. Action item is not there. There is no task which you can check. Like, okay, I have done this. You cannot do that. To-do list is not there. And so therefore, there is nothing to be taught also here. Tat pratipadane cha parinishita vastunah tat pratipadane cha heya upadeya rahite. Why it is not there? Because what do we do? There is something heya. Something has to be rejected or something has to be accepted. It's like government office. If you go to a government office, they will ask, what have we to do? We have so many things. We have so many seals and so many papers. So either we will reject or we will accept. And if it is India, then most of the government offices, they will keep on rejecting. Whatever you apply, they will reject. Sometimes even before you apply, they will reject. So like that, it will happen. Why? Because it is government office, I can reject, so I will reject. See, the 13th president of Ramakrishna Math and Mission, Swami Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission, Swami Ranganathanji used to say this, that the attitude in government offices in India is, I am an officer, I have the power to reject, so I will reject. Not that I have the power to facilitate, so I will facilitate. No, no, no. I have the power to reject. So you have sent an application, rejected. One stamp we will put on. So action-oriented person is like that. Either that person has to do accept something or reject something. So either it is vidhi. Vidhi means injunction, or pratisheda, nisheda means it is something like prohibition. So you do like this, so that is a vidhi. You don't do like this, that is a nisheda. So the Vedas talk about both injunctions and prohibitions. The Mimamsaka says that yes, I will accept something or I will reject something, because in the case of Parinishtita Vastu, that which is already existing, there is nothing to be rejected, nothing to be accepted. I have not really no choice about it, you see, because it is already there in front of me. How can I reject it or how can I accept it? It has to be, it is there, that's all. So it's a statement of fact, as Swamiji talks about Maya. He says Maya is nothing but a statement of facts. Similarly, this is also a statement of fact. So that is why it cannot be called something which needs to be understood. That means which needs to be understood through the Shastras. The whole point is, how can you say that Shastras are the means of knowledge of Brahman? It cannot be. Because all you're going to tell is, I am Atma Brahma. You're saying this Atma is Brahman. It's like telling, I see, look at the apple, like that. So there is nothing to be accepted here, nothing to be rejected. So this cannot be the purpose of the Shastras. So hence we say that this is not what is the purpose of Shastras. So Shastras cannot be the means of knowledge for Brahman. Atayeva, therefore, Saha Arodit, Taittiriya Samhita. Saha Arodit Ityevam Adinam Anarthakyam Ma Bhut Iti Vidhina tu Ekavakyatvat Stutyarthena Vidinam Syuhu Iti Stavakatvena Arthavatvam Uktam. So therefore, Saha Arodit, he cried. So in such passages, like he cried, Iti evam adinam, in such passages, like this passage, Anarthakyam ma bhut, let there not be purposelessness. Means let there not be purposelessness. Ma bhoot, lest there be purposelessness. Lest there be means there should not be. There should not be any purposelessness. So for that purpose, iti, hence, vidhina tu ekavakyatvat stutyartena vidhinam syuhu. Vidhina tu ekavakyatvat. This is again another sutra of Purva Mimamsa Sutras. The meaning of the sutra is vidhinatu ekavakyatvat, because they are ekavakyata. They have ekavakyata means they are having the same purpose or the same intention or the same meaning as vidhinam, as of injunctions. So therefore, stutyarthena vidhinam syuhu. Vidhina tu ekavakyatvat stutyarthena vidhinam syuhu. So therefore, they have to be taken as they are doing stuti of vidhi. So there is a particular vidhi that this thing should be done. And some other statement is there in the Veda which says, oh, this thing has to be done. If you do this, then you will get like this, etc. Just like here in the example, Saha arodit, he cried, he wailed. So he cried. Now here again, it is the stating the obvious. He cried means what? It is, you don't have to do anything there. It's a statement of fact. So the question would be, is that not useless? Because amnayasya kriya arthatvat, kriya artha is not there here. You are not doing anything. So for that, the idea is, no, it is not like that. Because this particular statement is in stuti or praising or eulogizing some other kriya, some other sacrificial act. And so this has meaning. This has got a context. So because it is praising some other particular sacrificial or Vedic ritual, it has got a context here. It has got a context here. So that is why it has to be vidhinam syuhu. It has to be treated as a particular eulogy or a particular stuti, praise of the injunction, And so, stavakatvena arthavaktvam uktam. So in this manner, of all the passages which are eulogy, all the passages which are eulogy or which are stuti, praising, they have been uktam, have been talked of as arthavatvam, as being purposeful. Why purposeful? Because in the earlier objection we saw that the Mimamsaka is saying that, you see, if a particular Vedantic statement is talking about something related to a Vedic ritual, then that can be accepted to be purposeful. So here, because a particular Vedic ritual is being eulogized, it's a eulogy of a Vedic ritual. So that is why that can be accepted as the purposeful statement of the Vedas. So stavaka, or because of its being an elegy, that means all the stutis are also purposeful. Also, mantranam cha, also in the case of mantras, ishe tva. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a particular mantra, ishe tva. So when a person goes to the forest and cuts a fruit or some such other thing from a tree, so that person has to say ishe tva. That means, for the sake of food, I am cutting you. So that is the kind of a harmony with nature which was there, which was thought of, which was envisioned by our ancestors. They, even while you cut a tree, you kind of ask the permission. Of course, they don't wait for the permission. They tell that and cut it. So that is the idea. So ishe tva, for the sake of food, I am taking this, I am cutting this. So that is a mantra. You have to tell that when you cut a particular thing from a tree. Ishe tva ityadinam, of such mantras, of such statements. Kriya tat sadhana abhidayakatvena karma samavayitvam uktam. Kriya tat sadhana abhidayakatvena. Because they are abhidayaka, because they are stating what they are stating, the kriya, the Vedic ritual, and tat sadhana, and also the means of that Vedic ritual. Because they are stating the Vedic ritual and the means of the Vedic ritual. So what happens? They are karma samavayitvam. They are samavayi. They are associated with karma, with the rituals. So such mantras, you see, mantras themselves are not telling you to do or not to do anything. So you don't have to heya, reject something, or upadeya, accept something in mantras. Mantras are mantras. Now suppose there is a ritual, and in that ritual it has been enjoined, or it has been instructed in the Vedas that you have to tell these mantras. Now then, if someone says, oh, these are mantras, there is no purpose there, there is no purushartha there, because I don't have to reject or accept. So then it is told, no, in this mantra itself, you don't have to reject or accept, but it is talking about abhidayaka. It is explaining or stating kriya, the ritual, and tat sadhana, and its means. So a particular mantra may be a means to perform a particular Vedic ritual. So that Vedic ritual has to be performed chanting that particular mantra. So that is why that mantra becomes karma samavayi. That means it becomes associated with the Vedic ritual. And so it gets the status of being a Vedic ritual or being purposeful. So karma samavayitvam uktam. So this is the idea. And so that is why even statements which are of the nature of a eulogy or a particular praise, and statements which are like mantras, they all are necessary for the sake of the performance of a Vedic ritual. And so they are to be treated on a par with Vedic rituals. And thereby they also have to be considered to have purposefulness. Means these Vedic statements also, which are stuti or eulogy, or which are mantras, are to be considered as purposeful. Na kvachidapi veda vakyanam vidhi sparsham antarena arthavatta drishta upapanna va. Now again, Mimamsaka makes the point or their standpoint very clear. What is it? It is said, na kvachidapi. Also, never, Veda Vakyanam, of the Vedic sentences, Vidhi Samsparsham Antarena. Antarena, other than being connected to Vidhi, other than being connected to an injunction. Vidhi means an injunction or an order. Other than being connected to an injunction or connected with an injunction or an order, Veda Vakyanam Arthavatta na Drishta. So somehow it is the style of most Vedic texts, or even this commentary text, not Vedic text, commentarial literature, that na will first come, na will be stated first. No, like that. That will be stated first. But in the way we write English or many other languages, this na will be placed afterwards. But in Sanskrit, that is the beauty. You can place any word anywhere and it will give you the exact same meaning. So here, Na kvachidapi vedavakyanam vidhi samsparsham antarena arthavatta drishta. Other than being connected with an injunction, vedavakyanam arthavatta na drishta. The meaningfulness, arthavatta, meaningfulness of Vedic statements is not seen. That means Vedic statements don't become meaningful unless otherwise they are connected, unless they are connected with a particular vidhi, with a particular injunction, which says do this or don't do this. So here we have to remember everywhere, wherever vidhi comes, there nisheda is also included. Wherever the word vidhi is used, there nisheda or prohibition is also included. So it's not just about injunction which is being talked there. Prohibition is also to be included. So wherever a question of prohibition or injunction comes, only when a Vedic statement is connected with a prohibition or injunction, then it is meaningful. Upapannava. It is both, only then it is meaningful or it is justified. Upapanna. It is reasonable. Or va means or, it is reasonable. So in that manner, if we see, nacha parinishtite vastu swarupe vidhi sambhavati. Nacha parinishtite vastu swarupe vidhi sambhavati. In the case of parinishtite vastu swarupe, of the form or the nature of a vastu which is already existing. Parinishtite vastu swarupe vidhi na sambhavati. An injunction is not possible. In the case of a vastu which is already existing, in the case of an entity which is already existing, there cannot be any injunction. That is the idea. Why? Because we have seen kriya vishayatvad videhe. Because all vidhi, their vishaya or object is kriya. Their object is kriya means their object is Vedic ritual. All injunctions, the object of all injunctions is Vedic ritual, and therefore it is not possible that an injunction be connected with the nature of an already existing entity. So the long and the short of the story is that Brahman cannot have Shastra as the means of knowledge. That is, Shastra cannot be, or the Vedas cannot be the means of knowledge of Brahman. That is what is being told here. They cannot be. They cannot be. So this whole opponent's view is being now concluded. Tasmat, therefore, karma apekshita kartru devatadi swarupa prakashanena kriya vidhi sheshatvam vedantanam. So therefore, as we have seen earlier, just now we saw karma apekshita kartru devatadi swarupa prakashanena. By prakashanena, by enlightening us, or by illumining, or by talking of, or by explaining or stating, karma apekshita kartru devatadi swarupa. Swarupa, the nature of kartru. Kartru means the agent. That means one who has to do a particular Vedic ritual or a Vedic yajna. Devata, the deity of a particular Vedic ritual or Vedic yajna. Adi, and so on, means things connected to a particular Vedic ritual or yajna. Prakashanena, by stating those things, these things which are karma apekshita, which are necessary or needed for performing a Vedic ritual. By telling about these things, kriya vidhi sheshatvam, by being the subsidiary to Vedic injunctions, Vedantanam, Upanishads become subsidiary to the Vedic injunctions. That means if the Upanishads talk about the doer of who has to perform a particular Vedic ritual, or what is the deity or who is the deity of a particular ritual, or some such other thing connected with a particular ritual. If an Upanishadic statement talks about this, then the Upanishads take the status of being subsidiary to a particular Vedic ritual. And so they have some purpose. Atha and Prakarana Antara Bhayat na etat abhyupagamyate. Atha means, however, if Prakarana Antara Bhayat, because of the bhaya or the fear of Prakarana Antara, of going to a different topic or a different context. Prakarana means topic or a context. Because of the bhaya or the fear of entering or going into a different topic or a context, na etad abhyupagamyate, if this is not accepted. This means Upanishads being subsidiary to Vedic rituals because they are talking about the person who has do a Vedic ritual or the deity of a Vedic ritual and so on and so forth. If that is not possible, if that cannot be abhyupagamyate, means cannot be accepted, na etat abhyupagamyate, cannot be accepted because of prakarana antara bhaya, because of the fear of getting into some other topic. That means, you see, Upanishads are talking about Nishreyasa. Upanishads are talking about how to get moksha. And some rituals or most rituals are talking about abhyudaya. They are talking about material prosperity. It's an altogether different topic. It's altogether different purpose. So how can you say that some Upanishads are subsidiary to Vedic rituals? That does not somehow make sense. It is not logical. So we cannot accept it. If that is the stance, tathapi, even then, swavakya gata upasanadi karma paratvam. Swavakya gata, that means that which is occurring in their own vakyas, means Upanishad vakyas. Swavakya gata, it's a very weird kind of, or a very strange, peculiar kind of formation, this phrase, Swavakya gata. That means that which is occurring in their own vakya or statement. Instead of saying that in Upanishad it is there, Swavakya gata has been used. Instead of saying that some person told like this, Mr. Ram told like that, instead of that, this thing is there in the statements told by Ram. That is the kind of, or statements told by himself. That kind of usage this is. So, Swavakya gata upasanadi karma paratvam. Even if we cannot accept that the Upanishads are subsidiary to Vedic rituals, but if they have their purpose as upasana adi of different acts like contemplation and so on, that of course it is there, shrotavyo, mantavyo, nididhyasitavya. So one has to hear, one has to contemplate, one has to meditate, etc. So because of their purpose being telling this karma, there also Mimamsakas are saying that it should tell something. It should say, do this. So because of the purpose of Upanishads being giving this particular order of doing something, therefore they can be considered purposeful. They can be considered purposeful. Not by saying that Tattvamasi or I am Atma Brahma, those things are not at all connected to any action. But if you say that, yes, they are talking about this kind of meditation, then it is purposeful. But all these statements, and so in that case also, we cannot accept that the Upanishads are the means of knowledge for Brahman, knowledge of Brahman, because they are not saying, there is no action involved. There is no action involved. So we cannot say that they are the means of knowledge of Brahman, say the Mimamsaka philosophers. So Brahmana tasmat, therefore, na Brahmana shastra yonitvam iti prapte uchyate. So tasmat, therefore, Brahmanah Shastra Yonitvam na iti. If somebody says that of Brahman Shastra Yonitvam na, that is, Shastras are not the source of knowledge of Brahman. Iti prapte, when such a standpoint is taken or when such an objection is raised, then uchyate, it is replied. What is replied? Tattu samanvayat. That is the statement. Tattu samanvayat. That is the fourth sutra. Tat, that, tu, but, samanvayat, because of harmony. Because of harmony. Tattu samanvayat. Because of harmony. That means, what is because of harmony? Harmony is that all the Upanishadic statements are harmoniously telling about the existence of Brahman. And so all the Upanishadic statements, they have, just now we saw Ekavakyata. Ekavakyata means having the same purpose, same meaning. So all the Upanishadic statements have the same meaning of the existence of Brahman. And so, Tattu Samanvayat, that is because it is Samanvaya, it is harmonious. What is harmonious? Upanishads are harmonious. So it is not like what you are telling, oh Purva Paksha, that is Mimamsaka. It is not like that, that some Upanishadic statements are eulogy, they are stuti, they are praising Vedic rituals. Some other Upanishadic statements, they are talking something which is subsidiary to a Vedic ritual. Not like that. All Upanishadic statements are harmoniously talking about the existence of Brahman. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Any questions? Question.
Pranam Swamiji, this is Pinakin from Pune.
Yes.
Yeah. So I am not quite familiar with Jaimini, his work or Mimamsa as such. Hence the question. Just as the four Mahavakyas give us a gist of Advaita Vedanta philosophy. Is there a summary or an extract of Jaimini's work or what his view is after doing the whole Mimamsa of Vedic texts?
There is a book I can refer you to, A Critical Survey of Indian Philosophy by Chandradhar Sharma. So it's the most concise and to the point book on Indian philosophy, but at the same time, it's very accurate also. He quotes the original sources and gives them as footnotes. So if in that book you go to Purva Mimamsa, you will get a very good idea about the philosophy.
Okay. A Critical Survey of Indian Philosophy by
Chandradhar Sharma. It's an inexpensive book, I think 200 rupees or 300 rupees. It's better to have a copy because it's an excellent book on Indian philosophy. To the point and very precise. Many things are very easily cleared by that book. There are multiple volume books on works on Indian philosophy which essentially confuse you. But this is a book which is a small book and wonderful book. It has Buddhism, Jainism, materialism. These are all philosophies which do not follow the Vedas. Then it has got 6 Indian systems of Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa and Vedanta.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Swamiji, we were deducing that like Brahman is a Vastu, right? So if that is the case, Vastu is subjected to the all process of birth, sustenance, and also destruction.
Vastu here does not mean Vastu is not an object. Vastu means an entity.
Okay. Okay.
Vastu is not in the sense of an object. Vastu means an entity, means any tattva, any principle or entity which is already existing.
Okay, Swamiji. Okay. Okay.
So Brahman cannot be compared with anything else in the world because Brahman is always there. It is eternal. It does not go through all these vikaras of 6 stages of birth, etc. or even the 3 stages of the Jagat, that is birth, sustenance and destruction. That also Brahman does not go through because Brahman is always there. All these examples we give to make us understand. But they cannot be compared with Brahman.
Okay. Okay, Swamiji. Okay.
Any other question? So, Smriti, do you have any questions?
No, Swamiji.
Okay. So we can conclude. So we will meet day after tomorrow. Shubharatri. Namaste.
Pranam, Swamiji.